So if we are live, Violet, we will roll right into this, and I would like to call to order today's Thursday, March 25th meeting of the Missoula Board of County Commissioners. I'm Dave Strohmeyer, chair of the commission this year. We also have Commissioner Juanita Vero in attendance. And like I mentioned, Commissioner Josh Slotnick will not be able to join us today. So as with all of our meetings, we begin with a land acknowledgement. Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. Violet, if you would like to display the colors, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and there it is. So please join me if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Violet. So we do have a proclamation today under public announcements. Commissioner Vero, would you be interested in reading this proclamation?
I would, but my clunky mouse is being slow. Okay, hold on. I can get it.
And if it's not working, I could do so also.
You have it. Nope. Here we go. We're getting there. Come on. Okay. I'm happy to do this one.
Okay, thank you.
Proclamation, Missoula County and the City of Missoula, Montana. Whereas the Meals on Wheels program at Missoula Aging Services, I'm just now realizing that it's in front of me. Thanks, Violet. Meals on Wheels program at the Missoula Aging Services is a valuable resource to older adults in Missoula County. And whereas more than 800 homebound elders and adults with disabilities received Meals on Wheels this past year, with 131,881 meals served in Missoula County. And whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels are the backbone of this program through their dedication to bring not only hot, nutritious meals to clients, but also caring concern and attention to their welfare. And whereas Missoula Aging Services counts on these volunteers and the support of the community to serve the growing numbers of elders who need this service in order to remain in their homes. And whereas we wish to raise awareness and support for Meals on Wheels in Missoula and the surrounding areas. Now, therefore, we, the Missoula Board of County Commissioners and Mayor of the City of Missoula, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2021 as March for Meals Month in Missoula, Montana, and invite citizens to thank the caring volunteers, drivers, recognize the value of the service to homebound elders and adults with disabilities, and encourage citizens to volunteer as Meals on Wheels drivers so elders can remain in their homes.
All right. Thanks so much. And again, our hats off to Meals on Wheels and Missoula Aging Services for the great service they provide and have been and will continue to provide our community.
And an entire year of Meals on Wheels meals is actually equal to 1 day in a hospital or 10 days in a nursing home. So this service is so important and vital to the fabric of our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Vero. So next we have on our agenda an opportunity for folks to offer comment on any items that are not otherwise listed on our agenda. And either here or later on under our public hearings, if folks want to comment and you're joining us via computer, please use the raise hand function and I'll call on you in the order in which you appear on my screen. If you're on the phone and you're muted, please hit *6, unmute yourself and chime right in, and we'll try to get you in the queue. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less and try to be as succinct as possible. So any public comments on items not on today's agenda?
I see a hand up. Oh, never mind.
Oh, Rob Edwards.
Yes, thank you for giving me a few minutes here. I'm Rob Edwards with Missoula Aging Services. I just popped in right in the middle of the reading of the proclamation, and I wanted to thank the commissioners and the Missoula County for their unwavering support of Missoula Aging Services and our Meals on Wheels program. The pandemic has been a huge challenge to us, but the help and support of our city and county officials, as well as the amazing crew that we have in Missoula at our office, our volunteers, and even bigger is the Missoula County public who have risen up and donated to the programs and provided countless days and hours of assistance. We just appreciate this wonderful community we're in, and thank you very much for declaring March for Meals Month, and we look forward to many more years of participation, and thank you again for your support.
Thanks
you so much, Rob.
And I look forward to joining you in person for one of our annual events in the future.
We are so looking forward to having people on drive-alongs. Our volunteers love that day to show their program, because those volunteers really do call it their program. So we look so much forward to that, and thank you once again for your support.
Thank you. Please tell Susan hello for us.
I will do that. Thank you.
You bet. Any other public comment today on items not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, the current claims list of the Commissioner's Office as of March 4th, 2021 through March 16th, 2021 totals $2,348,488.64. We have 3 public hearings today. The first one, which I'll open, is permanent zoning related to cryptocurrency mining. And we will begin with a staff report from either Jenny Dixon and/or Diana Mineta.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Jenny Dixon with Community and Planning Services, and I see Diana is also on the call. In case you have any questions for her, this is going to be very short, as it is simply a adoption and signing of a final resolution for the cryptocurrency mining zone, which, as you may recall, went to the Planning Board in January, received a 7-2 vote to amend as recommended by staff. Commissioners conducted a public hearing on February 11 and did adopt a resolution of intention to create the 2 new definitions relative to cryptocurrency mining and create the cryptocurrency mine overlay zone and apply it countywide on unincorporated portions of Missoula County. That resolution of intention was signed and then published on February 14, and law requires that for 30 days after that publication, that first publication, that protest petitions may be submitted relative to the intention to adopt the zone, and we have not to date received any. That 30-day period has expired. The interim zone that is in place right now does expire on April 3rd, so just about a week from now, so it's perfect timing. The motion, which I will put up on the screen for you, does include an effective immediately, which then would replace the interim zone that's in place right now. And lastly, before I put that motion up on the screen for you, I did just want to mention that, of course, staff has recommended adoption of this zoning, and I think that you should be proud of Missoula County for the initiative and the approach taken, because we have been receiving a number of calls and requests for presenting this information in other parts of the country where cryptocurrency mining is presenting some problems. Most specifically right now, New York, we've been working with a lot of people in upstate New York that are dealing with that. And as I've mentioned previously, I think the zone that Missoula County is about to adopt is one of the first that really addresses the climate change impacts of cryptocurrency mining. And so we're very excited about this, and I appreciate all of your work. So let me just put the motion up on the screen for you.
Thanks, Jenny. And did Diana have anything she wanted to add?
Thank you, Commissioners. No, I'm just here in case there are questions. I'm happy to take any of them.
Okay.
And Diana, I'm really happy that the New York folks are moving forward, because I remember when they reached out, and it just, this is beautiful, full circle, bookend. I don't know what metaphor to use, but thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, you're welcome. We, as you know, we've all put a lot of time into investigating this issue, so it's great if we can share some of that information with folks else in the country.
So is the, oh, it says it cannot display content.
I believe
Jenny, is the motion simply to adopt a resolution to amend the Missoula County zoning regulations to add 2 definitions and adopt a zoning overlay regulating cryptocurrency mining countywide in the unincorporated areas of the county?
As shown on the March 25th materials, attachment B, effective immediately.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so hold that thought, everyone. This is a public hearing, so before we take questions or someone makes the formal motion, is there any public comment on the item before us today? Any public comment?
Jason.
Yep, we have a Jason who's raised his hand. Jason?
Yeah, I was just curious as to how the in there it says special hardware for crypto mining, and as far as I'm aware, that's stuff like graphics cards and whatnot, which is not specific to cryptocurrency. So I'm just wondering how you're distinguishing between cryptocurrency mining and like a data center or just like some place that uses computers a lot.
Diana or Jenny?
This is Jenny and Diana. Let me see here. You guys can hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Diana may have something to add, but we clarified in the attachment that's shown in the March 25th materials to further clarify cryptocurrency mining as an operation that uses a process called proof of work. And so that is what differentiates it from data centers and other similar activities that don't involve proof of work activities for cryptocurrency mining.
Diana, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think that that addresses it. Thanks, Jenny.
Okay.
And
Thanks
proof of work is just incredibly energy intensive, having to complete the puzzle that way. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I mean, that's, yes.
Because there are other ways to do cryptocurrency mining that don't require proof of work.
Correct.
There are other ways to maintain blockchains that don't involve proof of work and don't involve that mining process. Typically, the phrase cryptocurrency mining refers to the proof of work process. It may sometimes be used to refer to other consensus mechanisms that aren't so energy intensive, but that's why we clarified, as Jenny said, that term proof of work, which is really the technical way to refer to that energy intensive mining process.
Thank you, Diana. Any other public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Juanita, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I motion to amend the Missoula County zoning regulations to add 2 definitions and adopt a zoning overlay regulating cryptocurrency mining countywide in the unincorporated areas of the county as shown on March 25th materials. B, effective immediately.
I will second that, and I would just like to say thank you to the staff for your heavy lifting on this over a multi-year period. I think this is extremely proactive. It's borne out in the fact that other places around the country are inquiring about how we've approached this, and in the context of our current desires to reach 100% clean electricity by 2030 and address and mitigate climate change, I think this is spot on. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, our second public hearing, which I will open, is the Petrov minor subdivision. And we'll begin with a staff report from Matt Heimel. And for folks who are unfamiliar with our public hearing process, we'll begin with a staff report followed by a presentation or comments from the applicant or applicant's representative. We'll open it up for public comment, then have questions from the commission, followed by a motion and discussion by the commission, and then a vote. So Matt Heimel.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Matt Heimel here with CAPS. I'll be presenting the Petrov minor subdivision. Go ahead and share my screen here with a map and a few slides for the subdivision. So hopefully you can all see this.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so the Petrov minor subdivision is a proposal by John and Sarah Petrov, represented by Missoula Engineering LLC. It's for a 2-lot minor subdivision west of Tower Street, east of Clements Road, north of Spurgeon, south of South 3rd Street West, in the west end of the Orchard Homes area, essentially. This is a farther aerial image. Here is a more zoomed in aerial image showing just some conditions of the property as of about 2020. So it's located at 1041 Como Drive. It's south of and adjacent to South 7th Street West, east of and adjacent to the intersection of Como Drive and an unbuilt section of right-of-way for 37th Street. So it's a 2-lot minor subdivision proposal. And it is, the property is zoned CRR1 residential. That has a maximum residential of 1 dwelling unit per acre. And it's within an area described in the 2019 Missoula area land use element as rural residential and small agriculture. And that land use designation recommends a density of 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre. So this is both zoning and growth policy compliant. Go back to the aerial image here and point out that so there are there's no floodplain for the property, no hazard areas were identified. I will note that there is shallow groundwater, however. So part of the subdivision proposal includes a section in the covenants that prohibit the construction of basements for new structures. So that's in the covenants as proposed. And there are no slopes. Of course, this site is primarily flat with main vegetation of grasses. So here's a existing site layout prepared by the applicant. There is one existing single-family dwelling. That is the existing house on the south side of the property that has a couple of accessory structures and an existing individual well and septic system. The access to this house, which will remain unchanged, is via an individual approach from the intersection of Como Drive and the unbuilt right-of-way for 37th Street. So no new roadways would be proposed for the subdivision. And here is a excerpt of the plat. And so the proposal will be for a new lot 65A2 on the north half or north portion. That would be 1.12 acres. And then the existing house would remain on lot 65A1 on the south side of the parcel. And that would be 1.62 acres in area. So the new lot, or the new area for a new single family house, would be 65A2. And that would have direct access off of South 7th Street West across the Missoula irrigation ditch, which runs through the South 7th Street West right-of-way on the north boundary of that proposed lot 65A2. And so there are a couple of conditions of approval pertaining to that irrigation ditch. One, well, for both the irrigation district and the Missoula Rural Fire District to approve of any new crossing for that ditch. And this is also a image of the DEQ site layout. Gives a little more detail as to proposed structure locations, drain field locations. So the new 65A2. So now north is facing right, so South 7th Street West running up along the right-hand side of your screen. So as shown here, see there would be a new home directly accessing South 7th Street West, a new individual well, new individual septic. The new home would be proposed to be installed with residential fire sprinklers. So the fire suppression will be through sprinklers for any new construction. That does not mean that the existing house needs to be retrofitted. It's just for new structures. So I'm back to the plat here, and through our review of the primary subdivision impact criteria, we identify recommended conditions of approval for subdivision. So staff is recommending approval of this subdivision subject to 9 conditions of approval, and I'll touch on each of those. The first 3 recommended conditions have to do with impacts to agriculture, mainly agricultural water user facilities. So the property is located on prime farmland if irrigated, although it does not have any existing or historical agricultural use that we identified at this time. And being adjacent to the Missoula Irrigation District canal, it has a condition of approval for a new easement to be provided so that lot 65A1 to the south can have access to the irrigation ditch water. That condition of approval does also allow the applicant to show that the property has either been removed for the district or has no shares allocated to the property. Another condition of approval is just to have that irrigation ditch easement shown on the plat, which would run approximately on the north side of the property. And also a section to covenants needs to be added that requires any new ditch crossing to be reviewed by the Missoula Irrigation District and built to their specifications. Fourth condition of approval has to do with provisions for utilities, and that's just requiring any new easement agreements for the well isolation zones. New well isolation zone is shown on the plat here, where the cursor is moving for lot 65A2. Conditions 5 and 6 are pertaining to required plat notes, first of which is a condition requiring waivers of right to protest a new rural special improvement district for municipal water system or for fire protection purposes, and also to just show the 37th Street right away on the west side. The 7th and 8th condition of approval are pertaining to fire suppression. So 7, simply to have a requirement for fire sprinklers on the face of the plat. And then the second fire condition, condition number 8, would be for an amendment to the language about driveway access in the covenants. So in addition to rural fire reviewing driveways of a certain length for adequate access, the new driveway that crosses the irrigation district ditch must also be reviewed by the by Missoula Rural Fire District and built to their specifications. And the 9th condition of approval with the covenants is simply a part for the amendment section. So the sections of the covenants that will reference the prohibition on basements, the requirement for fire sprinklers, so just for example, among others, cannot be deleted or amended without governing body approval. And that section includes a reference now to an area of riparian resource management, but there is no area of riparian resource, so we're just asking that to be omitted from the final set of covenants. So that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions about findings for any of the impact criteria, I'm happy to go over those. I know the applicant's representative is on the call as well. And again, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Let's move to the applicant or applicant's representative if you'd like to make any comments.
Hi, Jenna Sage with Missoula Engineering. Just would like again to thank Matt for his work on this project with us, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, well, hold that thought. And first, let's see if there's any public comment on this proposed minor subdivision. Is there anyone out there who would like to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Vero, any questions?
Nope, this is pretty straightforward. So thank you for bringing forward a straightforward proposal. I couldn't tell. Was Matt going to say something?
Matt?
Nothing further for me at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well then, I'm gonna motion to approve the Petrov subdivision based on the findings of fact and conclusions of the law in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval in the staff report.
I will second that, and I would echo my colleagues' comments. Thanks for bringing forward a fairly straightforward proposal, which is always welcome. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks Jenna for joining us. Thanks Matt.
Thank you, commissioners.
And our third and final public hearing today, which I'll open, is on the Running W Ranch phasing plan modification and extension proposal. And we'll begin with a staff report from Tim Worley.
Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Running W Ranch Subdivision. It is a request for a phasing plan modification and extension of the phases. And the requester is WGM Group. The location is at the Y. It's north of the interstate and east of Highway 93. 2 of the 11 phases have been filed so far, and this is the development in phases 1 and 2. The next phase to come in will be phase 2A, which is the closing of this loop right here. And the remainder of the subdivision is in this area right here and includes construction of a collector road here that will allow for a connection onto Highway 93 via a traffic signal. This is the 11-phase phasing plan for Running W Ranch, which dates all the way back to 2005. That was the original county commissioner approval. And since that time, we've seen a number of extensions and condition amendments. Running W Ranch consists of 308 lots. It is primarily residential, but it does have a commercial component as well. The request again is to modify the phasing plan. And the request is actually to add 2 multifamily lots to phase 3, which is one of the big infrastructure phases. So what I'm going to do at this point, commissioners, is toggle between the existing phasing plan and what is requested. You can see in pink there are a couple new multifamily lots that are proposed to come online much earlier than originally proposed, and that's, I think it's they're called lots M2 and M3. So the extension aspect of this request would affect, it appears to be 8 of the phases. Phase 2A is the next phase to be filed, and that is planned to be submitted this spring. But if you look at phases 3 through 10, there's a request to extend those phases out to May 31st, 2024, and that affects different phases differently depending on what their current submittal timeline is. So just to summarize some of the more pertinent findings, no additional parkland dedication will be required with the addition of the 2 multifamily lots in phase 3, as plenty of parkland dedication has taken place thus far and will take place through phase 3. No infrastructure modifications will be required to bring these 2 multifamily lots online earlier than originally proposed. And we found that this proposal is consistent with growth policy objectives. So we found that basic criteria have been met to modify the phasing plan and to extend 8 of the phases. There is a modified condition of approval list. It's a master list. It's basically an update of that original set of conditions dating back to 2005. It's been actually updated multiple times, and we have again updated it for 2021 and this request. And there's been no real substantive alterations of that list as of this date because of this action. I did want to touch briefly on the drainage issue at the Y, because that has been an item of concern, particularly the Water Quality District has raised it. I've personally observed it on multiple occasions. And the concern really with running W in particular is that with more development, you're going to have more impervious surfaces. So the question that came up, I think it was a couple years ago, is the existing drainage plan for running W Ranch sufficient? Is it enough, or do we need some additional condition? The Board of County Commissioners at that time actually considered a new condition, and I'll get to that in just a second. But just in general, drainage with running W Ranch, there's a wetland area right in here that drains to the west. And there's a detention basin within what the Armory complex. You may be familiar with the Armory, that it moved here several years ago. There's a detention area in here and a pipe that goes under Highway 93 that releases water actually under the Jellystone property. And sometimes the water pools south of this access road into Jellystone. There are other drainage issues at the Y. It's kind of a complex issue, and some of the drainage problems are actually outside of running W Ranch and have nothing to do with running W Ranch. One is there's this small stream that comes down and actually ends up going beneath Highway 93 by way of a culvert that runs this direction and pools on the southern edge of this property. That's also been problematic in the past. That drainage area actually has nothing to do with running W Ranch, and I wanted to make that distinction clear. So in 2019, a new condition was added. It's condition 47. Plans for detention and release of stormwater runoff shall be reviewed and approved by the appropriate public works or engineering department prior to final plat approval of each phase. And that wording comes from the fact that running W, it wasn't clear whether the latter phases might actually be annexed into the city of Missoula or not. But nevertheless, there was definitely an acknowledgement that drainage needed to be checked up on with the submission of each new phase of the subdivision. And I should point out that even though the Armory complex is in a new ownership, and it's not the ownership of the developer of running W Ranch, there is a perpetual drainage easement within the Armory complex. And this is actually a fairly significant detention area where if there's excess water, once it hits a certain level, there's a release that goes under Highway 93. And again, it tends to pond somewhat on the Jellystone property over here. But nevertheless, there is a perpetual drainage easement that's intended to allow for maintenance of this facility, even though it's in the hands of the Armory, the overlying property, that is. So in summary, our recommendation is for approval. And here's your motion. I move to approve the running W phasing plan modification and extension subject to the conditions included in attachment C.
Hey, Tim, is there an agreement with the Jellystone property then to accept that pooling, or is that's not necessary? Or how does that work? Or is that even an issue?
Well, I don't know that there is. I don't think there's a 20-foot easement that runs through the Jellystone property, and I don't have access to it at the moment, but there's a general drainage easement that's supposed to facilitate drainage all the way to O'Keefe Creek. And it goes through multiple properties, including Jellystone. But as far as handling the immediate runoff from the detention area and Running W Ranch, I don't know that there is an agreement.
So, Tim, just to push that a little bit farther, and perhaps our applicant's representative can address it also, is anything that is before us today being contemplated going to compound the water discharge that will go into the detention pond and then perhaps across the road into Jellystone?
No, I would say no to that. There's nothing new contemplated that will make the situation more problematic, considering the original development. I think since 2005, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, there's an increasing recognition of shallow groundwater in this area. And that wasn't known in 2005. And that's the reason for the newer update to the conditions, that condition 447, which basically requires a renewed check-in every time a phase comes in on drainage issues.
Okay, but the multifamily proposal is not going to make matters any worse than they are already.
No, I don't believe that's the case.
Well, let's just transition right into hearing from our applicant or applicant's representative if they would like to speak.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave and Juanita and Tim. I don't have much else to add as far as the phasing plan extension or the modification. Ryan may want to speak a little bit to the drainage concerns. So maybe I'll just turn it over to Ryan if he has anything else to say.
Thanks, Jamie. Ryan?
Hi there, commissioners. Just a little bit on the storm drainage. Our understanding is that some of the Jellystone problems, number one, they're downstream of Running W Ranch. So we have to handle and control the stormwater on the Running W project boundaries. The things downstream, we believe there's some undersized culverts in Jellystone. And so that's something that could have maybe been designed better in their engineering. But in regards to Running W Ranch, no more raindrops fall on that property after it's developed. There's just more impervious area. So what we're tasked with as engineers is to store that additional runoff because of streets and roof lines and driveways and whatnot. And the pond that's built in the armory that Tim showed a picture of is sized for all 300 and some lots that are in Running W. So it's very oversized for what's on the ground today. But we will revisit the storm drainage. There are some new MS4 requirements in county regulations that we will have to comply with condition 47 that has us resubmitting storm drainage at each phase. And the multifamily's always been there. It's just the construction of Running W Road and Cartage Road in phase 3 is so significant that the developers decided to add those multifamily lots or plat those multifamily lots sooner in the development than later to help spread the costs of that roadway out. And again, it wasn't a change to the original approval. And the storm drainage for this project, there's a master storm drainage plan that was reviewed and commented on through the original subdivision process. So we'll refine that master storm drainage plan as the project moves forward.
Thanks, Ryan. Is there any public comment on this proposal before us today?
Oh, I have one quick minor question. So then how much is going to be built in the next, 7, 8 phases in the next 3 years? Do we know that number, or is that still?
I believe, so we've got 14 lots that are in phase 2A. We'll probably submit that plat, maybe even in the month of March here for review and file that plat as Tim or Jamie said in 2021. And then we've got a scope of work to design phase 3, which is another 30 some lots. So I think it's safe to say by 2022, phases 2A and 3 will be built and final platted. And depending on home sales there, which it's a pretty frothy market out there, we would move into phase 4. As far as the rest of the phases, it's a little hard to know what the market demand will be.
Okay, thanks for your crystal ball.
Any additional public comment out there on the proposed phasing plan modification and extension?
I'm going to.
Oh, go right ahead. Anita.
Going to request or move to request that the board approve the Running W Ranch phase plan modification and extension.
I will second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Juanita and Dave, is that subject to the modified conditions or the master conditions?
Oh, sorry, I'm reading off the RC. Can you put up the proper language and I will make sure.
Tim, do you have that?
Thanks, Tim.
There we go.
I move to approve the Running W phasing plan modification extension subject to the conditions included in attachment C. Thanks, Jamie.
Way to keep us on our toes. I will second that. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. That was unanimous. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
You bet. Is there any other business to come before the commission today? Okay, at 2:42 past the hour, seeing none, we will be adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Violet.